of June 2025. A very good morning to you. Welcome to Morning Cafe. This is the last day of the month. And if you haven't filed your KRA returns,
it is definitely a significant day because it is the final day of the financial year of the year 2024-2025. From tomorrow, a lot of things will change.
Yeah.
Yes, including the fact that majeshi hawanunuliwi lunch kuanzia kesho. July 1st.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fresh shockers.
Yes, my name is Freddy Tibuli. Karibu sana to the
My
show.
name is Ann Odida. Tuangalie magazeti. We start off with the Standard. No, thank you.
Juxtaposing it with this one. As man police shot, all but dead. Very unfortunate. Radikali ya Gen Z wanasema ni mtindo wa siasa za kizazi cha wakongwe kama hawa hapa inabadilika sababu ya Gen Z. Gen Z back on the front pages. Taifa Leo.
The Star households to take a hit despite soft tax punch.
I told you tomorrow kila kitu inageuka.
Tulilala, tukapitwa.
How senior schools will be categorized. Now this is the front page of the Daily Nation. Something totally different. Matters education, and I think this is another discussion that we've totally missed out on.
People Daily, why Ruto is stuck with Raila?
He's definitely stuck. And borrowing in T-bills, as treasury bills, hits 1 trillion shilling on state cash crunch. Bado wanatafuta pesa na Kenya wanawapatia.
Absolutely.
For State of the Nation, this three gentlemen will be in studio. Samuel Pogisio, Dr. John Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West, and Kipruto Arapkirwa. Our usual morning panel every Monday, starting at 6:30. Do stand by for that.
All right, tuvuke boda.
And we start off with the region tuangazie ni nini wanazungumzia sana. You remember last week Samia Suluhu Hassan dissolved parliament in Tanzania, now officially kicking off the campaign period. 3 months to elections in October. But the main story is about what's happening in Uganda. Museveni versus Bobi Wine, a rematch. Another clash of generations, ideology and vision for Uganda's future is in the making as the two rivals lock horns again, with the odds stacked against the youthful challenger in 2026. And you'll see even on the front pages of Ugandan papers, Museveni tayari anaenda kuchukua makaratasi yako tayari for elections. For how many? Since 1986 till now, it's about 40 years later. Yeah, it'll be 40 years next year. Yes. So that's the big discussion matters. Official campaign period in Tanzania and in Uganda wanajipanga. Iyala MPs ask Ruto to address cash crisis. He's the chairman of the EAC. Legislators want EAC summit to force defaulters to pay up to unlock projects. But you know, President William Ruto, meanwhile, has left the country yesterday for Europe, going to Spain and then the United Kingdom. Kwa hivyo kwa sasa kuna shughuli.
Uganda Daily Monitor, the runner, the constant, they say. President Museveni on Saturday pledged to wipe out corruption as his major agenda, as he officially declared intention to run for a 7th elective term in office. This newspaper looks at some of the promises he has made to Ugandans every time he has offered himself in an election. And
whatever they have here is just the years that he has been in serious election discussions in Uganda. And I think the one is 1980. I don't even think I was born in 1980. Actually, I wasn't born in
1980.
Alikuwa kwa siasa tayari.
To 2026. 7th elective term. Kenyans mngeweza ingekuwa.
Na nasema tunaweza endelea bado next year. Naona siku hizi hata anatembea funny, walks funny, lakini
strong one.
African strongman, they call him.
Other stories here. Government mills new twice yearly HIV prevention injection. Police identify woman seen entering Dr. Kigundu's room at City Guest House.
Wanachoma kwa front page.
On the top strip, family struggles with pain of failing to bury father 30 years after. That's the Daily Monitor.
All right. Staying in Uganda, the New Vision still talking about preparations for the elections next year. 2026, Museveni outlines NRM priorities. Museveni picked nomination forms for party flag bearer position. That story is on pages 4 and 5. Na kama kawaida wameweka picha ya the African strongman pale occupying half of the page of the New Vision, akisalamia miti. Thousands attend Benihin Crusade. Watu wamepata mabwana hapo, unajua hivi hapa. And when I whisper, I want a husband. Kwa Benihin, alafu unasaidika. I don't know kama it works.
Well.
Why illegal Uganda DRC timber trade thrives, that's another story there. And why sickle cell testing is crucial. Pale juu wanaongea kuhusu Bride and Groom Expo ends on high notes. They had a very big expo. Let's cross over into Tanzania now.
The Citizen, T-bond boom reshapes credit to private sector. While latest figures highlight the growing dominance of bonds in government financing, analysts in Tanzania are warning that the shift may be straining the supply of credit to businesses and, of course, households. Man loses 4 relatives, 6 tenants in a ferry Kilimanjaro bus crash. Very sad news here. The victims were traveling to Moshi to attend a family wedding when their minibus collided head-on with a bus near same town on Saturday, leaving 38 people dead and 29 others injured. Officials said yesterday that most of the bodies of those who died in the accident were burnt beyond recognition.
Yes, you can actually see the picture there, and the minibus, which is a smaller bus, burnt completely. The other one, at least some people survived.
Total wreckage.
Yes. This is the biggest discussion in Tanzania right now.
Yeah. Other stories here, 2.5 billion shillings boost for local startups and green enterprises. Back to the story, you see the way how funny life is. You're having a wedding and somebody's dying. Very sad story there. Why the West conspired to eliminate Congo's Lumumba. As Congo simmered in post-independence instability, a secret cable marked top secret from Langley, Virginia, landed at the CIA station in Leopoldville, now Kinshasa. The message was terse and deadly. We conclude that his removal must be an urgent and prime objective. That story is on page 3.
Yes, and for those who love African history, I think this is one of the best stories to read. A story on page 3 of The Citizen.
And that's The Citizen.
Habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi wanaozungumzia msiba wa taifa. And the number of road accidents in Tanzania, I think, has overtaken any other in East Africa. They seem to have a problem. Hata ukiangazia magazeti yao mengi wanaozungumzia mwendo kasi. So ajali yaua watu 38 kule Same, abiria wateketea, wengine hawatambuliki. Rais Samia atuma salamu za upole, nyumba yapoteza watu 10 wakienda harusini. Majeruhi wasimulia, mapya ibuka kwa madereva. So idadi ya waliofariki ni 38. Rambirambi yake Samia asema nawapa pole wafiwa wote na inaungana na familia za marehemu na wote walioguswa na msiba huu mkubwa katika kipindi hiki kigumu cha majonzi. Mwenyezi Mungu awapa majeruhi wote nafuu ya haraka na azilaze roho za marehemu mahala pema peponi. Amina. Swali pale wanauliza, je, tumeshindwa kudhibiti ajali? Because every time on the front pages of their dailies, there's usually an accident somewhere. Matukio ya ajali wilaya za Same, Mwanga, kuna March 30 mwaka huu, watu 7 wakiwemo wanakwaya 6 wa KKKT Chome walifariki dunia. Aprili mwaka huu bado watu 8 walifariki dunia na wengine 31 kujeruhiwa baada ya gari walilokuwa wakisafiria kupinduka wilayani Mwanga. Ni kule kule tu. Tarehe 28 sasa hii tunazungumzia. Ajali imekatisha uhai wa watu 38 baada ya mabasi mawili kugongana uso kwa uso kisha kuwaka moto. Kivumbi majimboni, Matiko Makamba wamfuata Bulaya. Ni habari tu za kisiasa wakizidi kusogea karibu na tarehe ya Oktoba mwaka huu, uchaguzi mkuu kule Tanzania. Pale juu, mimba za utotoni za pungua kusini, matumizi ya P2 yakiongezeka. Kwa hivyo si ati ni mimba hazipatikani. Ni mimba zimepungua sababu ya matumizi ya P2.
Family planning.
Kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Kwingineko, vigogo ACT kuanza kazi na operesheni Majimaji. Naona you realize Chadema wapatikani kwenye kurasa za mbele. Waliambiwa na koti koma. Koma kabisa.
Koma kabisa. All right, those are the regional newspapers. Let's take a look at the weather situation. It's quite chilly. Tunaingia July.
July ishafika officially now. It's a cold season. And you can see zoom.earth here, the cloud cover in Africa, not much in comparison to other continents, but there is some cloud cover over Central African region, areas around Sudan, heading towards the western side, Nigeria and Ivory Coast. I think that's the biggest cloud cover or cloud system I've seen, meaning that there could be rains in areas around Sudan, Niger, Mali, Ivory Coast and Nigeria. And a bit of DRC. On the eastern part of Africa, not much cloud cover, just dots here and there, but definitely it is cold. Tuanze na Isiolo because something else is happening in Nairobi today. The Senate is sitting to It's actually a special sitting today to deliberate on the impeachment of Governor Guyo from Isiolo. So that's another piece of story, piece of news that we're going to be taking a look at. But and as far as temperatures are concerned, 19 degrees Celsius, a bit warmer, partly cloudy, highs of 29 degrees in Isiolo, which is usually a bit warmer than this. So it means even Isiolo, maeneo ya joto joto, lakini a bit chilly today. That's Isiolo.
Mombasa, kule coastal region, 23 degrees as we speak, feels like 26. It's raining as we speak, actually. Highs of 27 degrees expected in Mombasa. Precipitation in this area, 5 millimeters.
All right.
Kisumu?
Yes, the Lake Victoria region, 19 degrees Celsius, a cloudy day, highs of 25 degrees, which is a bit colder than usual. 0.1 millimeters precipitation, nothing much there. Baridi tu kijibaridi cha asubuhi.
Weather in Nyeri, 13 degrees, feels like 12. A cloudy day, highs of 19 degrees in Nyeri.
So this is the coldest, I think.
Precipitation, 1.1 millimeters. Kuna mahali pa 5, but it's not even this cold. Nyeri is cold today. Finally, Nairobi.
Even Nairobi, we're not doing it much better than Nyeri because it is 14 degrees Celsius. As we speak, it is a cloudy day, highs of 21 degrees. Meaning today, hauwezi vua koti. Hata mimi nashangaa na freeze and shine hapa. Highs of 21 degrees, cloudy day, precipitation 0. No rain at all.
No rain. It's 14 minutes past the top of the hour. Traffic situation in Akavip. Yesterday, we were not seeing much, actually.
It is typical Monday traffic, not much happening, but I'd already seen a problem on Haile Selassie Avenue in Nairobi. Look at this. Areas around, and this one is not just around the railway bus station, the entire stretch, ile barabara yote kutoka pale Uhuru Highway, hadi roundabout ya Bomb Blast hapa, kuteremka chini kwenda Marikiti, it's a dark red. And this is extending mpaka areas of Landis Road, opposite Machakos bus station. Getting into town, it's a bit tricky this morning. So areas around Haile Selassie Avenue, Landis Road, very busy this morning. Tukielekea maeneo ya Jogoo Road, ile typical stretch, this is not normal, because you can see this stretch of red and yellow is going way beyond the ile barabara ya kuingia kule wanaitwa Buruburu, iko karibu na pale Buruburu. A long stretch of yellow that goes past Makadara all the way mpaka ile roundabout ya St. Stephen's, Jogoo Road. So that's Jogoo Road, a bit slower today than usual. Kangundo Road, it's green. Hawa ni kama Monday huwa wapendi kwenda kazi. Lakini ukikaribia Kayole, just after Mama Lucy Hospital, this is where you call it Komarok. There's a problem there. Outer Ring Road, not bad at all. Areas around Feather and Tasia, just building up slowly, nothing out of the ordinary. Thika Road, isipokuwa pale Pangani, everything else is sawa. Yeah, that's typical traffic there. So yes, that's the traffic situation in Nairobi. Most other tributaries into town are looking green at this hour. This may change later in the morning.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day.
Your dreams weren't built for their comfort. Break the mold, color outside lines, and live a life that reflects your truth.
Let's come back and take a look at the local dailies. No, thank you. It's the main headline here, the front page of The Standard. Na kuna watu wako quoted hapa. Stella Chorono, Police Commander, Nyandarua County. Let's not let anger get the better of us. We must learn how to manage our frustrations constructively. William Kiambi, OCPD, Kinangop, Nyandarua. When you see the police, don't run. That's the image we want to build. Even a thief, there's no law that says when we catch them, we must kill them. Everyone has rights. Hiram Kimathi, Police Constable, you're a liar. You have lied. You will not protect me. All you will protect are your interests. I will be sacrificed in court before a judge, and I will be sentenced to prison. This, Interior CS said, Policemen wakiona watu pale police station shoot.
Ukiona watu wanakuja police station shoot.
Shoot.
Ile backlash alipata.
Lakini amedeny.
Mpaka karudi akasema no, I was misquoted.
I'm just quoting the law.
The problem is evidence iko kwa karatasi. Kila mtu alisikia. In fact, that clip has been played over and over the weekend.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest discussions coming from the weekend. The fact that he said, tutakuja. Mkiona mtu, piga risasi.
Lakini hakupewa nafasi ya kumaliza kitu.
Watu walikasirika hapo wakaambia hapana, wewe ni kama ujielewi.
Koma kabisa. No, thank you. Of course, they just opposed it with as man police short, all but dead. Contemptible. Reeling from the arrest and prosecution of Nairobi Central Police Station, OCS and a police constable following the death of Albert Ojwang at the station, police officers have come out, some boldly, others on condition of anonymity, to rubbish the shoot-to-kill order by Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen. Cases of politicians and senior officers using junior officers to commit crimes and later abandon them to serve jail terms have been cited as police urge their colleagues to be guided by the law.
Yes, one of the things that Murkomen said as part of his statement is that they're backing the police and if need be, they can even provide legal support. Like they can, but he said it so casually. You see, if we had read it from a formal statement, we'd take it seriously. Nasema we'll provide lawyers for the police, hata ukishikwa. Jaribu kufanya hiyo mambo alafu utajipata kotini, hata huyo lawyer you can't afford.
A little loose tongue in a standard during the weekend. Now, Boniface Kariuki is here on the front page and he has been declared brain dead. And the family spokesperson here says he's still under the life support machine, but they have now confirmed that he is brain dead. So since Kenyan law does not allow them to switch off the machine, they have been told to wait for his fate. Of course, as the hospital bills continues to pile.
Yes, it had already gotten to over 3 million shillings.
Yes.
And now that they have no way out than to wait. Of course, every day, billion apanda.
Sasa ni ya nani, ni yao ama ni ya serikali?
It's shida ni ya familia. Serikali pengine tu isaidie.
Tukiangalia ndani ya hii newspaper, how drug abuse threatens fight to end AIDS deaths and HIV infections. Koinange's 2.4 billion shillings property in Nairobi to be auctioned, court told. Health sector gets lion's share of 9.3 billion shillings in Natembeya budget. That story about Murkomen. Murkomen's shoot-to-kill order backfires as officers return fire over directive. Kuppet cancels strike push on pledge of talks. Kuppet wanapanga strike in the middle of the national crisis. Kuppet. This is my friend, this one. Blatant defiance, uniform scandal, that is eroding police discipline. Matiang'i end the blame game and start talking. He's calling for dialogue with the Gen Zs. And how revolt against tax bills soured Ruto's relationship with the youth. On the back page, AFC elections were conducted yesterday, and Ambani returns to restore lost glory at AFC Leopards. Former international was voted new club chairman yesterday. Mulindi and Lime are the club's secretary general and treasurer respectively. That is, their photo is right here on the back page. That's the Standard.
Gazeti la Taifa Leo, masuala ya siasa radikali ya Gen Z. Mtindo wa siasa za kizazi cha wakongwe kama Ruto, Raila, Uhuru, Kalonzo na Rigathi wapanguliwa. Ni mageuzi. Siasa za Kenya zimeanza kufuata mwelekeo tofauti kabisa kutokana na ujio wa vijana wa Gen Z wanaosema hawana kiongozi, kabila, chama wala sura. Hali hiyo imewaacha wanasiasa vigogo katika sitofahamu wasijue mbinu ya kuwavutia vijana hao upande wao, huku uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2027 ukikaribia. Kila mtu anasema yeye ndo anajua Gen Z. Sisi tuko na Gen Z. Gen Z na wanasema sisi hatuwajui. Pale chini, Gavana Guyo hana bahati licha ya koti kusitisha kutimuliwa kwake, Senate kujadili hoja ya kumngatua. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Senate watakutana leo kuangazia hayo. Kwingineko, juhudi za CDF kuingia katika katiba. Spika Wetangula apiga marufuku wa bunge kusafiri hadi wapitishe sheria ya CDF. Lakini ilisemekana kuna wale wanasema hii hata wakipitisha Itarudishwa tu na koti waseme sasa hiyo CDF iliingiaje. The role of a parliamentarian versus what you do as a patron of CDF. Ubongo aliyepigwa risasi wafa. Anaitwa brain dead. Jamaa na marafiki wasubiri mauti baada ya madaktari kusema hali ni mahututi. And doctors say that once you're brain dead, there's no coming back from that. That's the end, unfortunately. Pale juu, njaa yatua katika jeshi kuanzia kesho. Sasa wanajeshi kulipia chakula, serikali ikifuta mlo wa bure kuanzia Julai mwanzo. All this time they've been getting free lunch, the military. And you know, for them that's a game changer, that's everything. Now they have to buy their own lunches starting tomorrow. So wanasema bana, how will we afford this? Tayari payslip imefinywa. Alafu natuambia sasa hata kuna chakula.
Hasira itapanda sasa.
There's already disquiet within the lower ranks within the military, but we'll wait and see what happens. Maswala ya spoti, Chelsea wapaa kupaa FIFA, the Blues wa England waingia 8 bora kwa kupiga Benfica bila huruma. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa 20. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
The Star households to take a hit despite a soft tax punch. Tuangalie ndani tujue anasema vipi. This story has been
highlights up.
Okay. Taxation measures are here. Withholding tax is applied to betting and gaming instead of taxing winnings. The tax will now be charged on withdrawals. The tax rate will be reduced from 20% to 5%. Excess duty of 25% to be introduced on imported tea, whether flavored or not. Steel and iron are now back to 17.5% as the rate of export and investment promotion levy. Tax laws extension applications will be for periods beyond 5 years and not 10 years. The bill was signed into law with 4 days left to the statutory sunset date of June 30.
So it's already been signed, it's now law. But did you even see when it was signed?
Yes.
Did you even realize that it had been signed?
I saw
okay,
after.
fine, we expected for it to be signed either way, but after the fact.
I just saw after a photo of him signing it after. Tumekuwa andamaji this time round. Budget review, the impact on payslips will be due to indirect tax implications. Walisema this year's budget, hakuna any tax increment. But the Star says the impact on payslips will be due to indirect tax implications. Indirect. Bado utaisikia tu.
What do you feel?
Other stories here. That story on Boniface Kariuki, as is cornered by police officers during demos over the death of Albert Ojong on June 17th. He has been declared brain dead. That's the Star, fresh, independent, and different.
Daily Nation, how senior schools will be categorized. Now, this is a different story altogether. Matters education given prominence. Secondary schools that will transition into senior schools in January next year have been grouped based on their ability to offer various career pathways and subject combinations under the competency-based education CBE system. So cluster 1 kuna national schools where they have all the 3 pathways. Extra county schools, cluster 2, they will only have 2. Sub-county schools 2, and county schools and sub-county schools will also have 2. But if you happen to go to a national school, you can access any of the 3 pathways. They still go with this story about the shot hawker who has been declared brain dead. Family says the only fear they have now is waiting for the heart to stop. He's still on life support, but we have confirmed that he is brain dead. We have been told to wait for nature to take its course. This is Miss Emily Wanjera, the family's spokesperson. Another story given prominence there is about ODM. Paleju on the top strip rival camps imagine ODM as rifts over Ruto alliance widen. Splinter camps continue to emerge within former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's ODM party over its association with President Ruto's Kenya Kwanza administration, with the top leadership pulling in opposite directions. SG Sifuna alisema yeye na akataja majina yake yote ya tatu, akasema yeye hawezi pigia kura William Ruto, hiyo sahau. The highlights, soldiers to pay for meals as KDF ends food subsidy plan. Now this one, acha nisiseme mengi. Military personnel will cater for their own meals starting tomorrow after President Ruto's administration scrapped the food subsidy program for the Kenya Defence Forces. Lakini alichange wakubwa juzi, akapromote watu wakubwa. Huku chini lunch amna. Why youth-led movement has challenged old political guard. That's another story given prominence. On the back page, Nairobi United's fairy tale ran to continental football. Matter sports. So these are the main stories on the Daily Nation this morning. Soldiers to begin paying for their own meals is a story on page 2. You can read more about that uelewe. Usikuwe tu unaambiwa ati majeshi wamesema soma. Daily Nation.
People Daily, why Ruto is stuck with Raila? This is a comment by Herman Manyore, a political analyst. And Anasema Raila is the only man who can bring calm when things are boiling. Well, is he really? That story is on page 4. Other stories here, how Mount Kenya suffered brunt of Gen Z protests. Farouk Kibet's forays into Western raise eyebrows. Huyu amekuwa campaign sana kule Western region. Tunaona hapa for the upteenth time. Kibet led Ruto's troops to Lurambi in Kakamega County yesterday, where he presided over a funds drive in aid of cornerstone churches. On Saturday, he outraised 9 million shillings in support of a border riders group at Matsaha in Malava constituency. President Ruto contributed 3 million shillings.
Pesa ni nyingi siku hizi, harambe.
Pesa utasi. How technology is transforming waste management in Kisumu. That story is on page 17, and that's the People Daily.
Business Daily in Yarakaraka, borrowing in T-bills hits 1 trillion shillings on state cash crunch. Tax revenue shortfall fuels domestic debt growth. Rise signal high demand from unit trust. Government inaendelea kuboro pale. Stanchart blocks 7 billion payout to 629 retirees. It's another story there. On the ticker, Kenya starts Addis Dar power transmission. Elsewhere, Starlink loses market share in Kenya on subscriptions freeze, and weaker shilling stockpile lifts foreign currency deposits. That's the Business Daily. Just a reminder, we'll be having Kipruto Rapkirwa, that's a former Agriculture Cabinet Minister, in studio. Samuel Pugisio, who also served in Cabinet and also as Senate Majority Leader in the 12th Parliament, will be with us, alongside Dr. John Kanyuithia Mutunga, who's the MP Tigania West. Do stand by for that in a short while.
Tukiangalia caricature sasa. We start off with the Standard. Raila stood with the people on one side, lakini kuna mtu amewekwa hapa kwa mfuko. Who is this? Okay. It's the commentator. Anasema Raila stood with the people, lakini Raila amesimama hapo. Kule anasema still does.
Still does. Lakini hapa amesimama juu ya gari ingine, gari la kifahari.
La Kenya kwanza.
Kuna some luxury there. But he's still standing with us on top of a luxurious vehicle.
Yes.
Ni sawa.
Sisi tunaangalia tu.
Ni sawa. Kuna movie hapa, and this is a cartoon on the Star, inaitwa Licensed to Kill, Kenyan series movie. Na tuna maaskari pale. Nasema kuna warning, violence, 18, new release. Maaskari wa Kenya pale na wabunduki wanafiatua risasi kweli kweli. Licensed to Kill. The Star.
This is the People Daily, right?
No, this is the Daily Nation.
Daily Nation, the youth bulge. Government is just shoot to kill.
No. The government is trying to put out a fire. This is a firefighter. The government here depicted as a firefighter trying to put out the youth bulge fire. Wataweza kweli?
Finally, People Daily, every politician wants a piece of Gen Z now. Politicians wako hapa buju to the Gen Z.
Wana offer sweets and toys. Na mbona watu wanaitwa watoto? Umesikia kila mahali watu wakirefer to, even MP saying Gen Z, these are our children. These are our children. You cannot mislead our children. Do these people look like they can be misled by anyone?
Well, wanaona 17 and 24-year-olds are children.
Those are very old people. Some of them are parents. Some of them are even grandparents by now. Ngumu, alafu naambia buju.
All right. Today being a Monday Blitz will be coming up next after State of the Nation, and later on we'll be having this conversation with John Wesonga, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, on land fraud in Kenya. Do stay tuned for that. It's 33 minutes past the top of the hour. Don't go too far. Interact with us on our social media platforms, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 News KE. My handle is at Ann_Dida and the hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle is at Fred Indimuli. See you after the break.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window.
The family of Boniface Karaoke, the 22-year-old street vendor who was shot in the head by police during protests over blogger Alberto Juang's death, has confirmed that he has been declared brain dead. Karaoke sustained critical injuries on June 17 during violent demonstrations in Nairobi. The protest was sparked by the death of Juang, a teacher and internet activist whose case has gripped the nation. According to a family spokesperson, the hospital called them around midnight to inform them of Karaoke's condition.
Boniface Mwangi Karaoke is confirmed to be brain dead. So that's where and how far we are. The hospital bill now is quite higher. We are at 3-point-something now.
Despite the grim prognosis, Karaoke remains on life support. Doctors have told the family that there is no chance of recovery, though his organs continue to function with the help of machines.
Na tumeambiwa brain yake haifanyi kazi. Sasa tukujua kuanzia hapo sasa ni gani. Tujaambiwa ameondoka, lakini tumeambiwa brain yake haifanyi kazi, lakini roho inapiga.
Medical personnel also revealed that bullet fragments remain lodged in his brain, complicating any possibility of surgery. Brain death is the reversible cessation of all brain activity, including consciousness, reflexes, and the ability to breathe unaided.
The rest of the organs are still working, but the brain is fully dead. It's completely dead. So the brainstem, when we say the brainstem, it's the brain itself. Sasa tukikwambia umekufa akili, uko kweli? Tumeachia daktari atuambie sasa ya kwamba ameisha.
In Kenya, brain death is recognized both medically and legally as death, and it is also a key criterion on determining organ donation eligibility.
When somebody has been confirmed brain dead, we know what it means. So the brainstem of Boniface Mwangi Karaoke is not working any longer.
As investigations continue, 2 police officers linked to the shooting have been arrested and charged. Mike Kagwongo, TV 47, Nairobi.
The police should never ever shoot to kill. Police have no license to kill human beings. If somebody has committed a crime, arrest that person and take him before a court of law, charge him. So anybody giving instruction to a police officer that, oh, kama mtu na karibia police station, piga risasi. My shame. Shame on you. Shame on you. We should not encourage taking away of life in a way which is not constitutional. We condole with those people who have lost their loved ones. But at the same time, we condemn the criminals who deliberately went to destroy people's properties, burning courts, burning police stations. That is not a solution.
Yes, indeed. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli, and that's the biggest discussion coming from the weekend. Reactions to CS Kipchumba Murkomen's shoot-to-kill order from police. He has already denied having said that, but his words still the biggest point of discussion. Meanwhile, the second person who died at the hands of police, and so publicly, Boniface Kariuki, has been declared brain dead, and the family is just waiting for the inevitable. These are the stories juxtaposed on the front page of the Standard today. No thank you, reactions to that order by CS Murkomen. Meanwhile, the person who was shot by police at close range has been declared brain dead. This morning, we're privileged to have in studio Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who has served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki 1 administration, and before that as MP of Chirangani. Next to him, we have Samuel Pogisio, who has served as ICT Minister in the Kibaki 2 administration. He has also served as Senate Majority Leader in the 12th Parliament, as Senator West Pokot County, and before that, MP Kacheliba. Karibu. And the current MP Tigania West, Kanyuithia Mutunga. Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga is with us. Good morning, karibuni sana, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, I'll start with you, Bwana Kirwa. You served in cabinet, and many people, including the CS Murkomen himself, have tried to downplay his statements. But is this something that can be ignored? Any sentiment from a person of that rank, can we take it lightly?
Well, Fred, thank you so much for the opportunity, and also let me join other Kenyans in condemning the statement by Kipchumba Murkomen. Despite the fact that he's trying to recant that particular statement, we saw it live when he was making that statement in the midst of a number of Kenyans who immediately sort of gave him a negative pronouncement. It cannot be ignored because it is a statement made by a cabinet minister who happens to sit in the same cabinet with the President of the Republic. But I'm happy by the fact that he has tried to recant it, which means he has known that he made the wrong statement, because at that particular level, at the level of a minister, you just don't make public pronouncement without processing through the technical staff of the ministry. In this case, he should have been able to process through the various technical advisors and institutions of security operatives, so that by the time somebody makes a statement like that, it should have been processed properly. And of course, it is unconstitutional, and as you know, no police officer should have it as an excuse that, yes, I was told by my seniors to do that. That will be self-admission, that you are confessing that you actually did whatever you are accused of. So I think Kipchumba Murkomen has been very unlucky. When he was in the Ministry of Transport, he made also many careless statements, and it means he needs to reconsider the fact that he's a leader at that particular level, and being a leader, you must weigh the words that you make you know, you must weigh every word that you make, because people take you seriously.
All right. Bwana Pogisio, he may have tried to recant that statement, but he has made other statements around the same time, even appearing to attempt to pacify the police service and officers, individual officers, even promising to provide legal support for some officers. Does he appear genuine? Does he even sound genuine when he says this today, recants the following day, then goes ahead and says we're going to help the police officers if they appear in court, even getting them lawyers?
Fred, first of all, let me also just sympathize with the family of Boniface Kariuki, and who are really just distraught by the condition of their son. Also, take this chance to pay my condolences, give my condolences for the people who lost their lives during the 25th. And those many who are injured. I never had a chance to really just go through that. It's a country reeling from a crisis. Just to return to the issue of the CS Murkomen, I think he knows, Murkomen knows exactly that he's trying to patronize the police force, he's trying to patronize the security system to look like he's their God, he's their whatever angel, whatever he wants to become. His statement was not very good. And he has been condemned not only by the people in government, but the police themselves have said no. And by the time your juniors tell you no, you understand yourself that your high flying is finished. And I like to just tell Murkomen, I have a friend of mine who always tells me when I'm about to say things like this, he would tell me, sometimes. And when they say sometimes, I quickly understand. It means sometimes it's okay to be quiet. You don't have to speak every time. It's the same thing whenever I listen to people like Junet Mohammed or people like Peter Kaluma in Parliament sometimes. I listen to them, I keep saying sometimes. I feel like telling them, sometimes. It's okay not to say those things. Sometimes it's better just to be quiet. And Murkomen, you can do your work without having to speak too much. But you know, experience is never bought with money. You can be flashy, you can be rich, but experience you can't buy. And at this point, I just suspect that he must be regretting what he said. And by the way, coming back to say, I didn't. And I mean, obviously, we can play so many clips. Yeah. You know, the police in Kenya, and I want to support what the former Prime Minister said here. The former Prime Minister called him out. Raila said, shame on you. And he said something about the police. You must arrest that person if somebody, not to shoot the person, to kill. This shoot to kill order has been issued many times by different people. But you know, it's not within your purview. You know, look, one of the things I like to hear from Murkomen is, even if you're the minister in charge of the police, can you condemn the shoot to kill order? Can you condemn the shooters, the people who kill people? Because I mean, that's not your job. Your job is not to kill people. Your job is actually to protect lives and property. So he's in a catch-22 situation right now because his job is on the line. I mean, if I was his boss by now, he should be explaining himself on the way out. Because you cannot tell the police to shoot citizens. And I like, by the way that he's been answered is very interesting. Now, we don't condone violence by anybody, by citizens or by the police. Looting or thuggery, we don't condone that. But what we're saying basically is, think about being a minister, which we have been, both of us here. Compassion. You must be compassionate to your people. You can't talk about shooting and killing. So even the law will not allow that anyway. Our constitution and the laws don't allow that. So yeah, I agree with you that the nation is awake to the fact that the kind of person that Murkomen is, I would say to him sometimes, and that should suffice for him to know, I mean, sometimes it's okay not to be speaking. Sometimes you just have to work and go to the office and work. Why would a minister try to be a policeman? By the way, there's a problem, because I saw even the previous minister trying to wear police uniforms, trying to look like a policeman. Why would you want to be a policeman? You're a policy person. You're the head of policy. That's how you guide the ministry. And so I think this is the time the president should call his people to order and say, this is what a minister means. This is what a CS means. You got to head the ministry policy-wise. And not trying to look like a soldier. I mean, you cannot also be in the streets trying to be like a soldier. We've got enough men there to do that. By the way, from IG all the way, there are guys who are ranked properly to do all those jobs. That's not your business. Right. And so I think that's why I keep saying the president is left without helpers. If those are the helpers, okay.
Right. The CS has definitely created a new crisis for the president. Dr. Mutunga, the fact that the relationship between Kenyans and the police has been so strained with the many accusations of police brutality, and in recent weeks, the killing of Albert Ojwang in police custody, now Boniface Kariuki, who was shot live on camera, is declared brain dead. Definitely these statements by the CS are not helping matters in any way. Dr. Mutunga.
Thank you very much, Ndimoli. I first would like to condole with the families of those who lost their loved ones during the last week's demonstration and even before, and especially the family of Boniface Kariuki, who are going through a lot of suffering right now. I watched that clip, and one wonders actually what went on, because we did not see any open confrontation. Maybe verbal, because you could not have been, we were not able to know what they were telling each other. But whatever it was, I don't think that policeman shouldn't have shot Boniface, by all means. Because it's like they found him, trying to look for, maybe they were pushing people, I don't know. But there were people all over, those who are, covering the media and others. So talking about this particular incident, I think I found the policeman not really on the right. Yes, you've talked about strained relationship between the police and people. And Kenyans have tried to correct it for quite some time. Before the Constitution and during the Constitution making, many aspects were brought to book and captured and dealt with. The creation of IPOA was one of the remedial measures that probably Kenyans would have, thought through to try and bring down the police brutality. And the working of IPOA, to a large extent, more or less, in many interpretation reported, ended up like intimidating, let me say this, the police. And in that case, Kenyans are also on the wrong. We need to say things as it is, because when a policeman, for instance, is cornered, you see, the policeman did not go to the street to fight the people, in my very considered opinion. They always go to quell the rioting and to protect people's property. And it will be extremely wrong for us to think of a state without police. If something goes wrong, you rush to the police station. So when we go ahead and ban police stations, and when we beat them openly, like the case of Embu, where you saw a policeman ran after the vehicle and he was not able to catch up, and he was caught by the mob, and I think he was beaten. I don't know whether he's alive. Some of those things are not good, because the police are on their duty. They are sent to do the job. Having said that, on the other hand, use of excessive force it needs to be condemned in the strongest terms possible. There should not be use of live bullets, especially in the for police to contain riot, mainly they've been using tear gas. But in some cases, you'll find that we have either rubber bullets or live bullets. What would I say when it comes to the issue of Murkomen and the police now and the statement? First of all, I think the police needs to be guided by the Constitution and the law. The law is very, very, very clear. The crime is to the individual. It will not be to the force. Secondly, the law is extremely clear when it comes to shoot to kill. That is not in our Constitution, it's not in our law. At the height of emotions, Murkomen as a minister, I would actually consider what my colleague here said, that it is important for him not to talk. Just keep quiet and wait. We experienced a leader in this country who never used to talk a lot, and he did quite a lot. And the Kenyans were wondering what is wrong. President Kibaki never used to say many things. Of course, sometimes people thought he was feeling unwell, and imagine that is probably the reason. But I think saying less for a leader and doing more is a better approach, because sometimes emotions can drive somebody into... I would imagine that this statement was made out of frustration, because he is supposed to hand the police. The police is supposed to contain situations. We could see clearly that in some aspects, situations were not contained. Property was destroyed, many shops were looted, and lives were lost. And we have even incidences of raping, sexually molesting some children. And these issues are not good for anyone. So in such a situation, I think he should have gone to with his hands of the various sections of the police and gone through what happened, what therefore should we tell Kenyans in this particular respect. Okay. And even if you people problem, you media instigates, you push somebody to say things that probably they would regret soon after. In such cases, I think it would be good to say, well, I'll respond to that later.
But Bwana Kirwa, there appears to be a general disconnect about the workings of the police service in Kenya. That the accusations of police brutality, extrajudicial killings, and now mispronouncements by the person who should be in charge of the policy, that speaks to something, that probably all these problems are even probably by design.
Well, if you listen to the minister, he said we have told the police, anybody appearing around the station and looking violent, you kill, you shoot to kill. Which means there must have been a meeting somewhere, which means it was processed by a group of individuals, either Kipchumba and his friends, or in another forum where Kipchumba was part of the meeting.
He sits in the National Security Council.
Perhaps that is where it was discussed, but I'm not saying so because I was not there. But more important, Fred, there are a number of things that are causing a lot of worries. One is the introduction of goons almost in every demonstration, such that at the end of the day, you do not know who are actually the looters, are the protesters the looters. You see, it served a political answer at some stage by introducing goons who cause mayhem, and therefore people are disrupted, who are protesting without any arms, any violent instruments. They are carrying water, mobile phones, and perhaps the national flag. But the system, in its own wisdom or lack of it, introduced some goons, and those goons are the ones who now cause mayhem. And perhaps some individuals have realized it's an opportunity to loot, so that they are genuine protesters, and there are people who join the procession for purposes of ensuring that they disrupt order. The second issue that we need to look at is there is a high level of mental health in Kenya today. And some of the policemen and women, they are not really shooting out of instructions. They must be shooting out of certain frustrations, which may include mental health. And for me, this is very dangerous, because you've had, even in moments of some calm period, you hear a policeman in a station shot himself, having killed 2 or 3 other of his colleagues. So these frustrations, we need to go to the depth of it as a nation for purposes of curing the problem. The third issue, which I think is actually more important, if there is a lesson Kenya should have learned, is from Haiti. Why do we have a problem in Haiti? Why did we take our people there? We took them there because the state had been taken over by thuggery. And therefore, we are trying to remedy a situation that was precipitated by various dictators in the past, from Baba Duvalier, the baby dog, and so forth. For the last 38 years, that country, since 1938, the country has not had peace. And therefore, we need to realize that these are symptoms of security degenerating to a state of anarchy, if we are not careful.
All right. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we conclude this discussion about the police and the state we are in as far as security is concerned, so that we move to the politics around the demonstrations. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health check.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV47 with me, Fred Indimuli. I'm still in studio with Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, Kipruto Rapkirwa, and Samuel Pugisio. We continue examining this issue of police brutality, and now the latest statement by CS for Interior Kipchumba Murkomen on that shoot-to-kill order that was issued so casually. But there's another issue, Pugisio, that we've witnessed, is the fact that what Bwana mentioned, the issue of goons in the demonstrations and the link between politics and how the police operate. That politicians may have interests in demonstrations looking a certain way and introducing goons, and how the police are made to work with them. That's an issue, because now we've witnessed in recent weeks police appearing to take a step back and allow some of this negative politics to play out. And the risks involved is what I want you to talk about. Heading forward, if we continue with that trend where police are forced, either through politics or orders from elsewhere, to take a step back and allow goons to take over.
You know, Fred, it's a very sad situation in our country when you seem to link the police, the lawful arm of government, and the unlawful goons together. It even doesn't, it's not even good to have them in the same sentence. Because the police are trained. The police training should be sufficient to deal with situations, by the way. And the idea that if there is a problem, the police must be trained to meet that problem. So if the training is not sufficient, they should just add that aspect to the training, so that even the most rowdy person should be arrested by the police. Even the person who seems to be difficult, the police must be trained to handle whatever situation it is. If it means wrestling him down, using whatever it means to bring that person to a place of being arrested. But to include the political aspect of saying, I have my own goons here, I can send them to you to help you, is to declare that our police need help from goons, from people who are not even trained. And so what happens? Those guys are not trained to handle human beings, to handle situations, to bring calm. So you've seen them use those rungus, whatever, not even rungus, those shafts, wooden djembe things, hitting people, beating a woman, beating a man, beating a young person, helpless, coming to kick, do what, step on their head. That's not the police. The police will not do that. So sometimes politicians add the problems. And so once you have allowed the goods to come in and to work with the police that time have basically been subdued, have surrendered their legal position. And that's not the way they are trained. That is not the way they are trained. The police should be the most compassionate people and giving a chance for someone to go to court. So I mean, politicians have a shortcut. Politicians say, I want those guys beaten up. I want that guy's total lesson. But that is not the work of the police. That's why the police have come out now. If you look at the headline there, you'll see police officers have come out to say, no, thank you. We cannot hit our own relatives. They are our friends, they are our family. The police and the citizens, actually, I liked one of them who said, the citizens are not our enemies. Those are not our enemies. So when you introduce those thugs, and then they go home smiling and they come and loot to cover up whatever you've done, you're simply destroying our police. Very well trained, capable. But if they're not capable, train them, retrain them. Bring a modern training, bring them to the level that they require. And I think that's another thing that must be done is modernize our police. There's enough modern equipment to handle even the most violent person without killing them. If that's what we should be buying, that equipment, bring that equipment, train them on it. You know, I was in the aviation sector, and every time the industry is advancing, new equipment is coming, new training is coming. So those guys have to be trained all the time. I think the same thing that the police need to do, that the ministry needs to do, is instead of pay these guys well, give them enough incentives, but also train them, prepare them for whatever situation it is. There's a time of war, but Kenyans are not at war with each other. There are people who deal with that. But my worry is the people who came after the demonstrations were not the demonstrators. They seem to have been released from somewhere. They came and they started whatever happened later. So sometimes the explanations we see around this thing about who did this, who did that, the issue is our police ready to handle a magnitude of demonstrations? Even if there were riots, still the police should not despair. We should have enough training for them to handle even riots. That's what I think.
And the National Assembly, what you're seeing from there, Dr. Mutunga, is a blame game instead of any tangible solution to the kind of crisis we're facing. Because the issue of police surrendering their space to obvious criminal elements is coming out, and many people are saying, yes, police appear to have allowed criminal elements to reign supreme unfettered, especially in downtown Nairobi, while their presence was felt on the other side of town. Is there any role that the National Assembly plays, apart from the politicians in that house, just exchanging blame and saying this is a person to be blamed for this?
The clearest role that the National Assembly plays is resource allocation. And for the last close to 4 years, we have not witnessed an additional training, recruitment of police, which means the numbers are static and the population is increasing. There is a ratio. The UN ratio is like one policeman to around 450 citizens. In some situations, you realize that a policeman is equated to or takes charge of more than 2,000 people. That is extremely overwhelming in the first place. So when we have a huge surge of people and very few policemen, they will tend to protect the most essential facilities and institutions. And therefore, we will not have, unless we mobilize from other areas, which is also probably creating risk to those areas. So I think what we need to look into is, are our numbers okay? Are we recruiting enough policemen to take care of the situations, as it were? Besides recruiting more, are we also retooling them? Are we training them? Are we, exposing them as is appropriate? So on the other hand, I think it is important for every Kenyan to understand that anarchy is not a choice for anyone, should not be a choice for anyone. I've seen in papers that Ruto should resign for national unity. And I think that is a bit of an interesting headline because assume there was no president today. Who would be the president? It is something that Kenyans need to think very, very carefully. We have a system that is working. We have a nation that is working. We have a police force that is working. What we need is people to abide by the Constitution and law. Article 35 is extremely clear. And it was specifically put there to allow for peaceful demonstration when people are unarmed. And we have seen this happening everywhere. Even in the United Nations headquarters, you see people coming to demonstrate. They don't throw stones. They don't even shout at each other. They just walk peacefully and lift their banners. And their message is registered and responded to. But what happens in Kenya? Completely the opposite. It is fighting, it is war, it's breaking into people's businesses, it's looting. Now, whether they are organized or whether it is involuntary, there is a lot of criminal actions during demonstrations. And that's one thing that we need to address as a country. Do we want to have more of that, or do we want to abide by the Constitution? Because this started as a Gen Z, protest. The Gen Zs were armed with telephones. That's the only thing that probably we saw in the first demonstration, the very first demonstration, which probably we can say as Kenyans was not interfered with. But later on, people took advantage of these demonstrations and configured them and brought in their ideas and their influences, and it has completely lost meaning. I think as a country, there is need for us to abide by the Constitution. I've worked in situations where war has been. I've worked in Congo, when it was very bad, Eastern Congo, when things were very bad. And let me tell you, Ndimuli, you'd spend the night seated. Yes, you have a duty to do some work and disappear. You pray that you are not a member of that community. You thank God that you are not a member of that community. And even if you have police cover, you still don't believe they are going to be, sufficient to take care of your security. Anything can happen. Everybody does everything they feel like they should do. It depends on who has what ideas. And anarchy has no order, it has no form. It does not respect anybody, it does not respect boundaries. It is something that we need to be very careful
Are you
about.
concerned, for example, that the police appear to have surrendered their space to some criminal elements at some point?
I wouldn't categorically call it surrender. I would probably be careful to say that I think they are overwhelmed, and we should appreciate the fact that there is a lot of, we have a lot of people coming out against the numbers of police who would probably control them or keep them away.
All right.
So equipment or no equipment, I think we need to also consider that aspect of increasing the numbers, balancing out the numbers, and especially learning the Kenyans, and learning the Kenyans against, this bitterness against probably leadership, bitterness against their own people. We need to be people who love this country, patriotic, because this is the only space we have as Kenya. I would like Kenyans to know that Uganda will not allow you in. If anything happens here, Tanzania will be raised. You realize what happened the other day? Our leaders went there to try and bring in some of the things that happen around here. And some of them were locked in, others were sent back. So we need to realize we are not really very favored. I mean, we are not, nobody likes us. We have our country to fix. And when we fix this country, everybody envies us. Kenya grows at a very high rate. I don't think things are extremely bad in Kenya as you compare to other countries. I don't think so. Kenya is one of the most progressive democracies in Africa. Mm-hmm. That being the case, we need to protect what we have and use that space to give leadership peace to develop this country. Right. I think we have very many ideas that are under practice right now, under trial, which can lead this country to greater,
But listening to the kind of discussions we are having from our leadership, and especially the National Assembly that debated the demonstrations of June 25th this year at length, and one wonders if we're having the correct conversation. We've seen debate that appears to demonize the demonstrations, to try to lay blame on some political leaders, or even unfortunately so, to a certain community, to say this is a community that is bringing chaos, this is a leader who's bringing chaos. Yet, if at all there was such knowledge that the particular people are actually behind violent demonstrations, then the action should be taken against them. Do you think that that kind of conversation in our National Assembly is helpful in any way going forward?
I think we've lost national focus, and that's why I usually say we should have national conversation where some of these issues are brought to the fore. Like those goons, whether they are sponsored by politicians or sponsored by individuals who want to cause mayhem for other motives like looting and breaking into shops, is a matter that we must really dissect, because there are two sides to the equation. The other one on the 17th, when Boniface Kariuki was shot by a policeman, the goons that were in town, towards the end of the session, they went via City Hall and they were saluting the governor that this is a job well done. So whether the governor was involved or not, there was some kind of nexus between the goons and the governor. And in other towns, we've also seen. But when you now particularize it to a community, that is even where we go wrong. There were demonstrations in Eldoret, there were demonstrations in Kericho, there were demonstrations in Nairobi and Mombasa, and many other towns of this country. Embu, wherever, there were demonstrations. So you cannot say it is a certain section of Kenyans. And when we go tribal, it just reminds me of the year 2007, where there were 411, 41 against one community in the run-up to 2007 elections. That was promoted by FM stations, and at the end of that, the results were disputed, and the rest you know. And many lives were killed, were lost because of that. Whatever we are doing is also a build-up to another situation akin to the year 2007. Why am I saying so? The only time we had a clear win in the recent past is 2002. But all the other elections, the country is polarized through the middle. Remember even the 2013 general election, the constitutional, the court pronouncing itself the Supreme Court was actually almost annulling certain section of the Constitution on which are valid votes and which are rejected votes. When somebody reads that carefully, a good lawyer will be able to tell you that the Constitution was amended indirectly by the Supreme Court ruling. Why? There were votes which were cast but were rejected, and if those votes were counted, there was going to be a rerun in that particular general election. So what am I saying? I'm saying let us be careful. It is just not enough to blame it on certain individuals. It is not enough to blame it on certain community. All of us have a duty. Those in government, they have even a greater duty, because had they been talking to the to 25th language of peace, telling, like I had some police officers either at the coast telling people, inform us on the route that you are going to use, and it is going to be peaceful. If the entire government was, from the president, from the Murkomens of this world, if they were to talk that language, Kenyans are peaceful. But what we are trying to do now, we are trying to put in their mind the issue of criminality. And we have enough criminals. When they are unleashed in their numbers, it is going to be too dangerous for any one of us to walk in the street.
Okay. Even in 2007, as Wanakiro rightly put it, a lot of this negative politics of tribe and blame game came from probably some media stations. This time around, we're having such kind of discussion probably at the National Assembly level. Are you concerned that that's level of discussion there? Fine, it may be an intention to delegitimize some of the concerns of the Gen Zs, but should that be the way?
Fred, it shouldn't be. You know, Fred, of course, when you are in the National Assembly, you're actually lawmakers. You're also responsible for budget. You're also responsible for holding government account in terms of oversight. It is so the discussions come, and again, it's that situation where you say, can the majority leader in the National Assembly, for example, stop being emotional? Because he's the one who is going to guide debate. And you know, once you raise the emotions of the debate at that particular time, you create a situation where everybody then goes into very extraordinary levels to condemn somebody, to attack an individual, to attack a community, to those things. If you wanted to talk about the riots, we should then concentrate on what has happened. None of those guys even offered condolences. Instead of offering condolences, they were offering blames here and there. The National Assembly, the Senate, people need to realize that everybody's watching you to see how you lead, you guide the debate in the House. So once your emotional quotient is totally unreliable, once your emotional intelligence is lowered, you cannot therefore leave Parliament and go to the people and try to present yourself as being very intelligent. We've already seen you in the House, how you speak. And I wanted to say to Kenya, and I want to support Dr. Ari here, saying Kenya is a very special country on this continent. And it's a recognition not just by us, it's a recognition by everybody in the world. When you look at Africa, you think about Kenya. If you want to invest anywhere, you want to think about Kenya. So let's move as Parliament. Let's Parliament rise above the kind of things that are coming out of there. Let them move to the level of presenting Kenya at that level. Let people looking at us debating see, you know, they should see the level of intelligence in that House. They should see the level of stability in the House. No, I'm saying this because I've also been in that chair as a speaker. I've also been leader majority, and I understand. Sometimes the command, the motions, whatever it is, must be guided to the level where we say, okay, fine, this has happened. So what next? What do we do as a House? How do we restore this order? How do we help our police? That should be the debate, rather than all those things throwing at you who is to blame for everything, surely. Even if it is, how powerful is that person, that you blame him for your parents, you blame him for your children, you blame him for everything. Well, what you're doing basically is you're creating power in that person which he doesn't have. I mean, this guy, Rigiji, for example, why do we blame him for everything? Blame him for what he's done wrong, but surely he cannot be the one responsible for millions of people moving. I mean, so even if he was the one, the law is there to take care of a person like that. I mean, why do we say Daktari is the one who killed my brother, for example, and he's still sitting here next to me, when the police should actually arrest that guy? So I'm just saying, basically, let's move this country to a place where we can be proud to say we have a country that the world views as stable. But let's not cause chaos. We cannot stabilize it by creating more problems, by creating chaos in the country. So, and by the way, you know, a few days ago, not too long ago, we had something called the National Prayer Breakfast. And the guy who spoke at the National Prayer Breakfast advised, and he said, please, these young people are looking for respect. As we speak every day, we call them children. We say our children, our children. These guys have moved on. They require respect. Let's deal with them as respectable young professionals. Age is the only thing that keeps them at that level. But these are very smart, very intelligent, they are very expectant of something good in the country. In fact, they are the ones who wish this country to be at another level.
All right.
They're not up to destroying this country.
And Dr. Kanyude, you must agree that there's a lot of truth in that the National Assembly especially has not really respected the wishes or thoughts of the young Kenyans. Last year, around the same time, that's why they're marking this anniversary, part of the main problem was that the National Assembly completely ignored the demands of the young Kenyans and pushed through the finance bill despite their wishes. That was a problem that has never been addressed for a whole year. Then this time round, while they're marking the anniversary, the National Assembly still speaks in a way to delegitimize their concerns, to demonize the demonstrations. And instead of focusing on the issues being raised, they're talking about who should be blamed. Don't you think that the National Assembly is part of the problem here?
In Uli, I don't agree with quite a bit of what you said because, first of all, the National Assembly and last year's finance bill. The finance bill that was passed by the National Assembly, and you very well know this, is not the finance bill which was in the media and in the mainstream media and social media. It's not the finance bill that was debated heavily by Kenyans. It is not the finance bill which was popularized by most of our activists. Whatever they popularized, debated upon, and passed across in social media was the wrong version. It was a deliberate attempt to kill whatever it was. The idea was do away with the bill. So the finance bill which was passed had many great things for this country, and especially for the youth. So the fact that the youth refused the finance bill, as it was anyway, in our meeting after passing the finance bill, we are the ones who went to State House and sat with the president and told him what we see in this country is not about the finance bill. Because the finance bill has provisions that are clear. We have already looked at all the issues that Kenyans had raised concern on and dealt them out. Maybe there wasn't sufficient time to inform. Even the room to inform Kenyans was not there. So the idea was to drop the bill, whatever it was. And that is why finally the bill was dropped. National Assembly passed the right version of the bill. And I am one of those who voted yes for the finance bill. And I know what I voted yes for. For this country, for the youth of this country, for better Kenya, for a more stable economy, for more and better job creation. That's what we passed. Now, when it comes to the situation right now, and I want to dispute the fact that the members who debated last week did not pass a message of condolences. That is not correct. It's not factually correct. Every member who stood started with a statement of message of condolences to the bereaved families. And I remember the deputy leader of minority raising an issue and saying people are not passing. The speaker himself took him to task and reminded him about the speakers, those who had spoken before. Reminded him so and so said this, and so on and so forth. That is exactly what happened. People passed messages of condolences. Because they are Kenyans, they come from those backgrounds. Members of parliament are elected by people. They don't place themselves there. So they have to be extremely careful even when they speak, whether they are representing the issues of the people and whether they're in tandem with what...
For example, do you think the conversation they had and the
I'm coming to the conversation.
On the floor of the House, that is the right direction to take with this?
I'm coming to the
crisis?
conversation. Intimally, we are all living in this country. And actually, we all are very clear on what is happening. We are very, very, very clear. Maybe there may be no tangible evidence to take anybody to court or to arrest someone, but we all know what is happening. We all know what, if somebody stands and says, I go by what, I stand by the destruction, I support, what kind of statement is that? From a leader. I mean, we are all condemning cases of violence, we are condemning looting, we are condemning rape, we are condemning all sorts of violence. All sorts of atrocities are meted upon our people. We are condemning. But if somebody owns up and says, I am the leader of this, and you are looking for space in the wrong place. I think that is the spirit of the parliament.
There's an attempt
the mood of the House was in that respect.
There could be an attempt to seek relevance politically, but do you agree with the accusations made on the floor of the House that the former deputy president is on funding the...
I would like to refer you to some clips which are circulating. I'm sure you have seen them. The vehicles burnt at the police station. Was there a demonstration in that police station? Were the police driven out? The police were busy trying to contain the situation. Then a few individuals were sent to specifically burn. So when you see such things happening, they must be planned, coordinated, and executed.
The level of discussions on the floor of the National Assembly should be at a different level, not bar talk. The fact that members...
I want to agree with the Honorable Pogisio on one thing. Emotion, keep it out. Debate as soberly as you can, put the point clearly, guide the House to debate. Keep the emotion away. That's really important. Because the mood of the House is developed by the first 6 or 7 speakers. And after that, now, the House takes cue. So I think we need to be selfless when it comes to some of those issues and put the point as it is. In most cases, you realize that in Kenya, we have attacks and counter-attacks. That's what prevails in everything. When you're talking to the media, you're attacking somebody. Let's learn also to be modest in whatever we say. Our body language matters a lot. What we say also matters most. We need to be very careful to remember that we are putting this unit, we are safeguarding this unit as a whole. Kenya is a unitary state which needs to be safeguarded by everyone. Right. Now, when it comes to lawlessness and those advocates of chaos, I think they need to be named. They need to be named. So this is important. We need to know who is doing what so that Kenyans know, if I follow this path, I think I'm likely to be going nowhere. Mm-hmm. Do they have a strategy? Do they have their mechanism to deliver that strategy? Is there an approach? Or are they just, trying to fumble in the darkness? We need to be extremely careful.
Monakira, what do you make of that level of conversation in the National Assembly? Is it driving this country towards a possible solution to the kind of crisis we have, or just creating new problems?
Well, one can say it was very clear that drums of war are already being beaten. And it's a clear way that we seem to have some anger with the public. We seem to have some anger against certain individuals in society. We don't know their disagreements, but those disagreements sound to be so bad that all of a sudden, individuals who are colleagues at some stage, they have become arch rivals and almost enemies to each other. And therefore, some of us who may not be privy to why there were certain disagreements, we are at a loss. But what is coming out from National Assembly and the national conversation of those in power today, the regime of the day, is that there seems to be a lot of anger, a lot of arrogance, a lot of condescending attitude. And next time, if there is a drought in Kenya, we might start blaming it on Rigathi Gachagua. That yes, he's the one in charge of the mountain, and the mountain is not providing the rain. It is something that is worrying me. And the language that was used by the two officers in Nyandarua is the language that we must be using. And I want to recognize the two of them, William Kiambi and Stella Cherono, for trying to cool the tempers of individuals, because what Dr. Mutunga said, yes, it may be true that some individuals nicked and burned the police station, but who can rule out the possibility of the same regime trying to organize some goons to burn police station to escalate the issue against some of the individuals who are being accused of this? Because nobody has linked directly the burning of police stations and the individuals that who are being accused of. Because I've seen this regime for the first time, I've never seen a regime that creates anarchy for the sake of blaming it on an individual. I remember in the run-up to 2002 elections, some young men dressed in Maasai regalia were brought outside Parliament to stem some demonstrations that were taking place in the run-up, I think, to 92 elections. But later on, we realized there were some individuals from the forces who dressed like Maasai, and they were given some whips to whip some people along Parliament Road. But this time now, you are not even bringing whips. You are bringing goons with machetes to kill people, to maim them, as a way of stemming the onslaught from the population. Because it's really that the regime has said we don't have the numbers in terms of people supporting them, and therefore the only way we can do it is to introduce goons who are paid to maim people, and some of them, you realize, they were not even properly compensated at the end of the day, because they were blaming somebody who was distributing the money. So we should have, that's why I always insist on national conversation, where we bring these things to the open, and we say, yes, we have a problem. How do we stem it? Because in the run-up to the next election, I'm worried this level of hostility is likely to escalate to another level that it may be worse than the situation we saw in the past.
Yes, indeed. And of course, our houses of legislation, the Senate and the National Assembly, will continue driving the agenda, the kind of conversations we should be having in the country. Hence the question, are they having the correct conversation? As we get closer to the end of this discussion, allow me to take a look at something totally different, and that's the fact that we're coming to the end of the financial year today. From tomorrow, a lot of things will change. The fiscal regime, the taxation regime, a lot of things will change. Some of them have affected some sections of our security system. You can see on page 2, soldiers to begin paying for their meals. And a lot of rumors around what should happen or could happen with that kind of move. Coming only days after the president also made some promotions and adjustments to the leadership and ranks of the Kenya Defence Forces. So let me just look at this. Military personnel will cater for their own meals starting tomorrow after the government scrapped the food subsidy program for the Kenya Defence Forces. In a memo obtained by this paper beginning July 1st, the KDF will transition from the current exchequer-funded lunch program to a pay-as-you-eat system, SPAE. Now they say the move has triggered widespread disquiet among military personnel, particularly those in the junior ranks who depend on the subsidized meal. And that's my greatest concern, that discussions around the military, we rarely have them on this platform, but this is on page 2 of this paper. Bwana Pogisio, you've been in the cabinet and you may understand the intricacies that come with the security agencies and especially the military. How significant is this move?
Fred, you know, as a disclaimer, I would hardly try and debate anything that deals with the military because I've not been in that sector and don't understand how they arrive at a decision like this. But definitely there must have been a cabinet discussion, cabinet memo, a discussion around how do you compensate them in case you remove this subsidy. All I can say is we've had a professional, we still have a very professional military in this country. And how they move up, how they move down, we've left it normally to the officers that we know, including the Commander-in-Chief and others, to deal with that particular sector. We've been talking about the police because we've seen them. The army is literally almost aloof from discussions and politics. In fact, as you know, they try to keep away from politics as much as they can, except when politicians come and interfere. I have been following that story about the meals for a long time, wondering, how do you arrive at a place where you want a cafeteria system of pay as you eat? And that means that if somebody doesn't have that money that day, because sometimes you actually don't have it, you don't eat. And I think sometimes we wonder, unless it's a check-off system or unless it is there's a way of compensating daily, there are times when you don't have the cash on that day. So you'll be carrying that gun and working and you're hungry. So those thoughts must come to the leadership of the military. And surely this is an experiment. This is an experiment, never been done before. This is an experiment. So if it starts like from tomorrow, it's because knowing the needs of Kenyans, Fred, if I'm given money, I said that money is for food every day, and comes to a place where I have debts, I have emergencies and so forth, very likely I will use that money for something else. But during the time of subsidy, you are guaranteed a meal. So even if you compensate them now, you say, okay, for your meals, I'm giving you an extra 5,000 or an extra 10,000. Still, that money can go to something else. And the problem is, if you don't have money for that day, do you go hungry? So as they're thinking about how to start this off, I believe that the military should be thinking about those possibilities, that people have other needs that they need that money for, and they might actually end up going hungry. And if you went hungry 2-3 times, you start feeling weak and you cannot work properly. And we need our military to work properly because we need them to do that. So it's a sector that we normally, this is the first time we're discussing about even their meals. Many times we don't even get to know what happens there. But now that we know, now that it's come out in the open, it's a matter that must be looked at very, very carefully.
All right. And the reason why we're discussing this is that it's on the front pages. We cannot ignore it. The fact that there is a concern even on this paper and the story I'm reading that the move has triggered widespread disquiet among military personnel, particularly those in junior ranks who depend on the subsidized meals. This definitely makes Kenyans feel a certain type of way, Bwana Kanyuithia. The fact that we rarely discuss the military is neither here nor there. But if at all there are concerns, then there are concerns for every Kenyan.
I want to agree with you and my colleague here that there are some legitimate concerns on this issue, but also believe that there must have been prior discussions and some decisions made. As a politician, we have almost zero interactions with the military. In fact, you can't access their mess if you're a politician, an active politician. You cannot access their premises, they have no relationship with us. Mm. So we know very little on what happens, but now that it is here, I think what the writer should have told us is a detail on this. I don't think it is detailed sufficiently. The decision was made. We know many people have provisions. Many, government workers have provisions. Parastatals could have their own arrangements, but then you pay as you eat, or it is checked off from the salary. And therefore, that enables somebody to manage their meals bill over time. I do not know whether it was just withdrawn, and if it was, there's a mistake, because they will feel denied, and for military to function, for a soldier, war is one on the stomach, my friend. If a soldier is not taken care of, I don't think they will go to war for a very long time. That is why they carry a pack with food, or part of what they carry when they're going on combat, and for a long time, or even for training, is food. And that trains, they get used to probably, eating little and, just in preparation for long periods of, abstinence from direct food supply of food in cafeterias. But what I think must have gone on is that there should be some provision, which therefore now shifts to somebody, to the individual. And this individual will now manage their bill. And it must have been informed probably by waste or probably other factors. So I really cannot comment strongly on this. But disaffection in the military is not something that we should go for.
And that is our concern, that this possible disaffection or possible disquiet within the rank and file of the military. Bwana Kirwa.
Yeah, my prayer is the same as that of Dr. Mutunga, because I hope effective public participation was done. That is to check what is the reaction, what is the alternative, and how is that alternative going to be handled. I remember in the 80s, as a member of parliament, and early 90s, we used to have a system where you sign for meals. By then, a meal was about 60 shillings. And at times you exceed the messing, because you are to sign for the meal, and also you sign for any telephone that you make. It was not like now that members of parliament get free airtime or get some measure of compensation in terms of airtime. So, and quite often, some people who used to have visitors, and you sign for your visitors, you run short of it. So at lunchtime, you see a member of parliament not going directly to the dining hall, he just hangs around until somebody can tell him, okay, let's have lunch. Somebody who can sign for you. And it was very embarrassing quite often. And some actually ended up having negative salaries because, of course, our salaries then were 18,000. And if you sign for people and you are making telephone calls to various places within the country, it was going to eat up all that, plus, of course, the loan, the car loan of that particular time. So my take is that there is the old saying that a soldier marches on his stomach. This is typically to say, unless they eat well, they are likely to be demoralized, because is the subsidy only on food that has been removed, or is it also on alcohol? Because I would have rather say, okay, reduce the subsidy on alcohol, but on food, that should have been obtained until a better alternative is provided. Yeah.
Indeed, that's a discussion there on the page 2 of the Daily Nation. Soldiers to begin paying for their meals. Government scraps food subsidy program for the Kenya Defence Forces. Pay-as-you-eat system scheduled to kick in tomorrow. The Ministry of Defence says the move aligns with best military practices, both regionally and globally. But the key concern, according to this story, is a possible disquiet among military personnel, particularly those in the junior ranks who depend on the subsidized meals. We just have about 7 minutes or so to go, so I'll give you about 2 minutes for your final comments. We start with you, Bwana Pogisio.
Thank you, Fred, and I thank you again for this opportunity to close closing remarks, and there are probably a number of things that I think I would mention. One is in the education sector. As I say always, there is an issue of trust and trust deficits in every situation. In the education sector, I see there can be confusion about the way that we classify the schools and so on, and who gets there and so on. I think the sooner they clarify that, and I think the minister has been trying to go everywhere to clarify that, please make sure that our education system is not subject to any confusion about how you classify the schools, how you get accepted to the schools and so on, and should not be used, therefore, to lock out deserving students.
You're referring to the story on front page of the Daily Nation,
yes,
how senior schools will be categorized.
Yes. And now, by the way, it's a very surprise that the Daily Nation today has brought that as their headline. It's amazing when there's a lot of politics around. But that is important enough. It's important enough that it is how those categories are obtained. Some schools will be disadvantaged. Some students, young people will be disadvantaged. Some of them may not even get to the national schools because of the way they're trying to explain. So make it clear. You know, one of the things that keeps away trust is clarity, lack of clarity. Make it clear. But it's the same thing that the government needs to do on everything that they do. Clarify things, make things understood by all levels of people. And so I just want to wish that at this point that Kenyans, again, remind Kenyans that this is a very special country. And that everyone that we deal with must understand that these people who are young are not children, they are young people. I see people saying, speak to your children, you know. You tell your children. They're not children, they're young people. And they're working from home, and they have no jobs, and they're frustrated. Let's see how to deal with that. Mheshimiwa Kirwa mentioned something that we keep forgetting, mental health. This is the time to invest in mental health. How do you deal with situations like that? So I'm just saying, let's be clear. Why are we having these problems? And finally, I want to say the third thing is that I have seen the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, call for a national convention. And I think it's about time we met as Kenyans, including all ages, and look at this country, the Kenya we want. Yeah.
All right, and the former CS for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, speaking at the weekend, also called for a similar thing, conversation at the national level. Dr. Mutunga.
Thank you, Indimoli. One of the things probably I would like to emphasize on is the fact that we have only one Kenya. We don't have two Kenyans. And for those of us who have not been to Rwanda, I think it is important for people to know exactly what happened. Things happened almost abruptly, but that country has taken a lot of time to heal, even today. I was there last week, and as you traverse the country, you find monuments raised which commemorate the genocide, so that people can always remember they don't go that direction again. I think as we call for, as we try to correct system, let's be objective. Objectivity is key in all situations. And I want to specifically point out at the vernacular FM stations. They can pass the wrong messages, and they have so much impact in passing the wrong message, which is not fair. And let's be fair to ourselves as a country. Know that we have only this country and we don't have another one. We cannot go anywhere. Secondly, when it comes to looking at the younger people, I think everyone in a position needs to be wondering, how do I create opportunities for younger people? Because they have legitimate concerns. we need to focus a lot more as a country on productive sectors so that we may create jobs like other countries did and grew out their economies and basically created more jobs than probably we are doing right now. I would like to recognize the effort that the government is trying to come up with. There are very many possibilities in the ICT sector, in the construction industry, in many other efforts that the government is doing to create immediate jobs. I have seen many presidents, about 4 in this country, who have never been that forthright and that objective in creating jobs. But Ruto is doing something. And I'm not here to say, to praise Ruto. I'm saying that President Ruto is doing something about job creation. From immediate, we see job creation on long term. Others probably went through the Industrial Revolution and then probably movement from basic production to value addition and so on. Then jobs were created. But we are seeing rollout of jobs in the construction industry, which is immediate and deliberate. This deliberate effort needs to be recognized. And that therefore we need to tell the younger people to also give the leadership a chance to help them out, because they cannot help themselves out by going to the streets. And those who go to the streets, if you look at what goes through in the social media, they say tomorrow there is no working, which means they're working somewhere. So they say tomorrow no work, we can go to the streets. So please, let's be objective on some of these issues. Okay. The final thing I would like to probably point out is the fact that let's not try to drive a wedge on any community. Let's try to look at Kenya as a whole and everyone as important in this country. Okay. Yeah, we are all the same, really. Yeah.
Asante, Dr. Mutunga. Finally, Bwana Kirwa.
Yeah, Fred, allow me again to sympathize with the family of Boniface Kariuki, who has now been declared brain dead, and also condole with the families who have lost their loved ones, be it on 17th or on the 25th. I'm told that the number was slightly lower than last year, but nonetheless, one Kenyan lost is too many Kenyans lost. And finally, to still tell the leadership of today that change can emanate either from peer review or from the leadership. And when change starts with the top organ of the organization, that change is likely to move faster. I just want to beseech my brother, President William Ruto, to change his attitude about the people of Kenya. He should not imagine that there are those who are his enemies and those who love him. All of us have accepted he's the president, and he needs to exude change, have positive thinking, to allow the rest of society to be positive. Otherwise, there is palpable tension and hostility in our society today, which is dangerous for peace and security of this country.
Thank you so much, Kipruto Rapkirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki-Wan administration, and before that as MP of Chirangani. Samuel Pugisio, who has also served in Cabinet in charge of ICT in the Kibaki-II administration, as Senate Majority Leader in the 12th Parliament, Senator West Pokot and MP Kachiliba, and MP Tigania West, Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga. Asanteni sana for your time at TV47 and for your very well-considered opinions on the headlines we've discussed. No thank you, as man, police shot, all but dead. That's a standard. How senior schools will be categorized as a Daily Nation. Households to take a hit despite soft tax punch. That's a Star. Remember, today is the end of the financial year 2024-2025. From tomorrow, we begin a new financial year, and there will be a lot of changes that some we have discussed. After the break, we'll switch gears and talk about matter sports. Monday Blitz, Fred Arocho and Duncan Mutua will be in studio to lead that conversation. And later on, my colleague Anodida will be back in studio for another conversation. My name is Fred Indemuli. Let's have a lovely week.